I took a sabbatical from my previous startup. And for me to measure the success of it, the idea was very simple. Can I help a founder raise like his next round of funding, right? The sad reality is that um, 4 to 5 of our best work has not released at all. Like spend some money, like put 500 rupees, buy some crypto, use the wallet that you're studying about.
What do you think is like the future of design in Web3 specifically?
Hmm. You put me on a spot here.
Hey everyone, welcome to Product Stories, the podcast that delves into the minds of product and design folks to talk about their stories, challenges, and work. My name is Kaushik, and in each episode, I talk to my guests about how they work, the process they follow, new tools, and the breakthroughs they have had in their career.
Hey everyone, this week our guest is Paul Finney. He's the founder of Spacekayak. Spacekayak is a Web3 native creative studio. They work with some of the finest Web3 companies in India. We talk about his journey of becoming a founder, how did he build the team from scratch. We also talk a bit about Web3 design, the future of Web3 design, and how one can get started with Web3 design today. This was a very informative as well as an inspiring episode for me, so I hope you enjoy this episode too. Hey Finney, thank you so much for being here. It's amazing to finally have you here. We have met a couple of times, and one thing I'm super excited to know is your journey and how you got started and everything. I'm expecting a lot of cool stories. So, why don't we start by just talking about you, what you do for fun, how things have been going with you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kaushik, for inviting me to your pod. Been a big fan of your pod, especially the kind of people that you curate. We always get to hear such different set of experience and collection of like how they made it in the industry, how they build products and stuff. So it's very inspiring. Yeah. So do you want me to introduce myself? Because that's going to be
Yeah, yeah,
challenging.
go for
Okay.
it.
All right. So I'm Paul, and I'm a creative entrepreneur, and I run this crypto native Web3 studio called Space Kayak. And we are like a creative team for crypto companies. So we work with early stage crypto companies as their design team. And It's been year and a half since I started Space Kayak. Before that, I was in the world of startups for the longest time. So close, like, yeah, this marks my 10th year in, in startups. So I started as like a intern working, doing graphic design, content marketing stuff, and then as soon as I graduated with a CS degree, I kind of like took a role of product management. And since then I've been like working mostly with like tech companies, doing like a product role. But like doing a product role kind of like made me fall in love with the craft, right? So I worked with so many versatile kind of design teams, brand teams, engineering teams, and yeah, so that kind of led to one thing to the other, and like now we have Space Kayak.
I mean, interesting journey, man. Like, what I kind of want to understand, especially, is how did you kind of like decide that, hey, this is the right time for
Hmm.
me to start this Web3 studio? Um,
Hmm.
and at the same time, how was your journey of like transitioning into a founder, and how's that journey been, right? Like, I'm sure that there's like a ton of ups and downs there.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so the first bit on like how I decided to start um, Space Kayak, right? Like, it's not like, bro, it's not like something that I woke up and I'm like, okay, I have a startup now. I'm going to like do interviews, get product market fit. No, it's not like that. So I took a sabbatical from my previous startup. I did an exit, and like after the exit, I was kind of thinking about what is that one thing that like I want to do, like not just one thing, but things that I want to do that kind of like stays with me for the next 5 7 years. I'm enjoying it. So it had to be startup, it had to be tech, it had to be like design, it had to be something like creatively challenging and inspiring. And there is nothing more beautiful than like creating something, right? So that is kind of when I took like this small experimental route of advising early stage companies, and essentially like telling them like, hey, let me help you with your version 1 of the product, right? Building the right product, the right dream flows, also like helping you kind of like the UX copy, the design, aesthetics, brand story and stuff, right? So as I started doing that, I started realizing that in early stage startups, like founders have a lot of things to do, right? And essentially, especially in a tech startup, they don't have the bandwidth to kind of like, sit and think about UI UX or like design stuff, right? um and that seemed to be like a opportunity space, as well as something that I knew where to like comfortably, I knew how to comfortably operate in. So I built like a small team of 3 people. One was me, who was on the product, and I had previous founding experience. I've done like EIR roles. So someone who could understand what the founder is building, where is he, kind of like what direction does he want to take in terms of product market fit, in terms of fundraise, in terms of like the first version of the product releasing. And then I had like one more product designer and a brand designer. So between the 3 of us, we kind of what we call like a product design super team. So we had the ability to even write like good design requirement documents just by having a conversation with the founder. So this team started working ad hoc with like different engineering pods in like good early stage companies. And for me to measure the success of it, the idea was very simple. Can I help a founder raise like his next round of funding, right? It's like either pre-seed or seed or series A. Because like whenever there is a funding goal in place, you know that you need to bring growth on product, you need to have certain things hit properly, like the narrative, the market vision, the GTM product positioning and stuff like that, right? So we did one entire summer in 2020 to 2020 working with a lot of like early stage founders, and 90% of the startups that we worked with ended up raising funds. And like for me, that was like, oh yes, this is like working out, right? One example could be like we made a dream flow for Shopflow, the startup, and it was like a instant checkout experience. And the moment we made the dream flow, we sat with the founders, and it was a very small sprint. We built it, and with that dream flow, they kind of went and raised a seed from a fund, and like Tiger Global backed them. That kind of was the validation, right? So there is a need, and slowly started building that design team. And I have background in crypto, been like early crypto since 2017, not early, but like since 2017. So saw that there is a need for these kind of things in crypto, specifically in crypto. There's a lot of design agency, a lot of companies actually know how to do good design, and they help like generally like well funded startups, but there isn't much available for like crypto companies. So we started like focusing only on crypto, and that was kind of like the inception of Space Kayak.
Yeah, I was kind of actually getting there. Like, my next question was gonna be like, hey, why did you pick Web3 and,
Mm.
not literally like anything else? But yeah, you answered that already. Now that you kind of like, also touched upon Web3 and crypto and everything, right? Um, so something I want to like, understand from your perspective, because you work with an array of companies, an array of crypto companies, which are all working on quite a different set of products. Um, what do you think is like the future of design in Web3 specifically?
Hmm. You put me on a spot here. It's not like okay. So I think I genuinely believe that we need to look at like what is happening in the crypto space right now. So right now there is a lot of focus at the infrastructure layer, right? Like people are building stuff. We are back in a phase where people are like creating new ideas, like just how we had DeFi summer, just how we had the NFT hypercycle, super cycle. Right now people are working on the next set of things that might come in. Like we have already good narratives, but most of these things are not going to touch consumer layer yet. So at least for the next, I see the foreseeable future, two things that are going to happen is, one is a lot of like new experimentation in terms of like DeFi itself, right? How do I break down DeFi, create like different kind of um, um, experiences around DeFi, right? We will see a lot of advancement on those side, like airdrop 2.0, like evolution on like stakings and lendings and like different kind of things that you can actually do with DeFi. Not just DeFi, same play across like different core like crypto verticals. But these will all be very less kind of like consumer play. On the other hand, I see that the at the adoption layer, two or three like primary narratives are coming out. So you have a larger like battle of wallets happening right now. So you will pretty much see like many prominent crypto companies coming up with their own wallet solutions, and there will be one or two differentiators. Someone will say that, hey, I am a MPC wallet. Some will say that, hey, I've got a new way for seed phrase or something else, right? But the battle of wallets is happening, which pushes from a design side to actually think about, hey, how do I get 500,000 wallet users is what we have right now. From this, how do I push to like the next million or like 2 million or 3 million, right? So fundamentally those kind of things, one is the wallet play is happening, and then you also have a massive avatar play happening right now, with ready player, and you got a bunch of other spatial, you got a bunch of other companies which are like now pushing out the avatar creation, and the people playing around with digital collectibles. So there is again like a consumer play there. um, these patterns, I would say that as a designers, one is on the product side, we are going to be looking at new standards, right? The last cycle we saw connect with MetaMask as a standard, and like Rainbow Kit basically made it all the more like prominent for like other dapps to come and build like simple, easy to integrate, connect with all. Similarly, we'll see a lot of standardization in terms of like Web3 design at a consumer layer level. How do you onboard, how do you um, essentially understand trust at each product level, understanding what a key is, or a custodial solution is, non-custodial solution is. So those kind of things, I think people are going to push out a lot more, and we already see those examples. Big companies like Gnosis Safe giving like a sample, you can like walk through, do like a walkthrough mode. So these kind of things at the consumer level, a lot of standardization is going to happen. At an infrastructure level, I think a lot of speculative design. We've had some taste of metaverse and stuff, but like I think we will see a lot more speculative design to be coming out from the infra layer.
So, what about like the future of like the Web3 design?
The,
Among all the things that you mentioned, which one excites you the most?
I think the standardization bit excites me the most,
Hmm.
because this is like a point where the first time when mobiles came out, we started doing like, hey, there is something like an accessibility guidelines, or then we started building something like, hey, material UI. We started building, hey, bootstrap, but then like we need to do mobile responsive design, and like slowly things started happening, right? Like Lottie came out. So when you have like this one particular kind of thing that you're building for, which is mobile experience, right, a whole array of things kind of open up in the design space. So now that we are building for design for crypto products, right? So again, like here a whole range of things will open up. I'm particularly excited about more open source kind of design movements, people building new design standards in crypto. And we are also yet to see like composability, right? Like the core concept of crypto is that like you could build on Ethereum, I could build on Ethereum. It's all open, but we haven't seen that level of play at a design level, right? Like so a lot of those things are very exciting, because new companies, new designers are going to come in with like genuine curiosity, and they will build new standards. So yeah.
Interesting. So, one of the things, right, like when it comes to like designing for Web3, um, not a lot of people know what they don't know in a lot of
Hmm.
scenarios, because like the nature of Web3 design itself is so new, and
Hmm.
every day there's like new things happening. You have to constantly be on top of it and stuff like that. So in middle of all this, right? While you're building Space Kayak, which like you started like more than a year ago, you have actually put together um, this team of great designers as well as content people. So how did you kind of like go about doing this, especially when especially considering your team is so young, but
Yeah.
they're extremely creative and great at what they do.
So I think like that was kind of my main startup metric for like the entire year. Like I was not chasing revenues, I was not chasing like anything else. It was just to build like a great team. And to be very honest, like um it is a lot of like hit and try and like new experimental methods, but we, at least like I clearly knew that what are the things that I don't have at the moment, even to support the team if the team comes into play, what happens, right? So I started building those foundational steps. First thing is like I went to like on deck design, uh, and I kind of like mm, you know uh, I I got really great value in design management from on deck, right? So I learned a lot about design management. So we got a lot of those principles and kind of set them into place as to like how do we onboard designers, how do we um, help designers understand where they are, where they want to go, the steering kind of like path for them. Then even built things, small things like education at Space Kayak, right? Like as designers we know this great book called Refactoring UI. It kind of like always takes us back to the principles of like from the fundamental product design and how do you design wireframes and like digital products, right? So we started doing these kind of programs internally. So a lot of those things have helped our designers, but on the to answer your question on how I found them, um, it was a lot of like creative trust, I would say. I The first three designer that I mentioned, like when we started, so he kind of like got in two people, and then like things like that happen, like one person got in the other person, and like everyone knows the other person. That's why the average age is like 23 or 24 at Space Kayak. So everyone's like relatively young. We did get like mm, 4 5 people from 10K designers. Some of them joined as interns. Two of them are now product designers. So these were some of the channels. But most importantly, I think we it was for us about like making the right hires, a team that is capable of like doing end to end kind of like creative things, right? So in our, even though it is a very small team, we have like motion designers, we have someone who is very good at NFT, 3D, metaverse, Unity, and stuff. So to bring those kind of like unique people in, it was the challenge. And I had to look at places outside of Twitter, very kind of unconventional folks, right? And once they came in, we made sure that over like 1 year they understand what it takes to work at a startup, what it takes to be like a designer or a creative person. And yeah, we're still learning, we're still growing.
Interesting. So, like, one of the things is that it's one thing to teach someone about design and prep them for the actual design that happens purely outside of education and stuff, and it's a whole other thing to teach them about crypto at the same time.
Mm,
So how did you go about hiring? Like, was it like, did you look for someone who's actually already native, or did you look for someone who probably has like great skill but they don't know about Web3, and you
mm.
probably decided to educate them? So how did
Uh,
you like kind of go about that?
So I think both of them are true in our case. We've had people who are native crypto folks and also designers. We've had people, we have people who are like exceptional good designers, but like zero background in crypto, right? So I think like during the hiring process itself, we kind of gauge the crypto curiosity bit. Like you could be like really interested about design, you could be like super passionate about design and like not have any affinity to like crypto, right? And that doesn't work for us because everything we do at Space Kayak is tied back to like the foundations of crypto, right? So I think 100% of the folks who are in the team are either like they are like crypto curious, some of them are crypto native. But to answer your question on like what happens like after we hire someone who's not a crypto native person, right? So we kind of take them through the crypto journey, get them like an ENS, give them like an onboarding, like a crypto on their wallet. We have like a week long kind of things that they can go through on a like a rabbit hole kind of thing. What is DeFi, what is a DAO, all those things, like, so they can explore all of it. And then we kind of handhold them, since the nature of the project that we're doing is also like very very crypto centric. It usually takes about 3 months or so, but then they eventually get kind of very acclimatized to the idea of like building or designing in crypto.
Interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, like that's great, man. Like the fact that you're also like helping these designers discover crypto and like understand Web3, and most importantly, like you're able to identify their skill and their craft, and you're kind of able to translate it to like the niche that you're working on. I think that's brilliant. So like while we are talking about like craft, what you guys do and everything, what are probably like some of the exciting projects that Space Kayak as a team has worked on, and what does the future look like what are some of the exciting projects that are probably like on the way for us?
Yeah, so the like the sad reality is that 4 to 5 of our best work has not released at all, and that's also the ambiguous nature of crypto, right? All of a sudden
Yeah.
some hack happened or some something happened, and they're like, okay, this is not the right time to release this product. But of all the work that has come out publicly, I think we could definitely talk about like ETH India. ETH India was super fun to work on, and crafting a narrative for an offline experience, and bringing in the theme of like infinite garden. All those things were like super fun. I think we had a really great time working with the Defolio folks and designing the ETH India experience. What is to come? That's a good question. I think Juno team has to answer that, Kaushik. Uh, you and I both know about this, but yeah, we have cooked some very interesting things with the Juno team, and hopefully, when Kaushik releases it, you will see it. But apart from that, at Space Kayak, we are also working on something very interesting. All I can say is it is going to be at the intersection of design and like for developers. I had already given like a alpha of it at Filecoin event last year. So that is something that we are super excited about. We've been doing a lot of design interviews, developer interviews, and slowly building that. Should come out mid March or late March, but that is something that would help the life of like make the life of a developer super easy, and hopefully it will help us see a lot more beautiful crypto products by the end of next year, this year. Yeah.
Yeah, while you were talking, I just remembered that Space Cat team worked on ETH India, and I actually like completely forgotten about it because like I was like when I was doing my research, I was just thinking about like the companies that Space Cat has worked with, and I just remembered ETH India, and like the first thing that came to my mind is like the beautiful landing page
Hmm.
that you guys had worked on, and it was so well crafted, and it had all these like um, really small elements, but like that is like very relatable to you as someone who would see it, especially like if you're around Bangalore and
Hmm.
involved in like tech or crypto in any format. uh, yeah, I just remembered that part, and I just had to like like re-emphasize on what a brilliant job like the team did working on that.
Thanks, and I think Kaushik, I remember us meeting outside of Sendur, and I was telling my team, guys, this is the Sendur that we put on ETH India. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Now, like, kind of like talking more about the business aspects, right?
Hmm.
Something. like you did mention, like, kind of how you started with uh, like onboarding few companies like one by one, and you went on to see them do well and etc. But like you have like this whole array of companies right now, right?
Hmm, hmm.
How did you kind of go about onboarding them one by one? And what does your process look like? How do you go about it? What does it look like once you like onboard these companies and start
Hmm.
working with their teams?
Cool. Yeah, so when we were a small team, right, we made it very clear that we will not work for volume. We will do like go deep. So the first 6 to 7 months we ran something like a season. So in the season one, we only had like three companies. And it demanded us to like take out that time and like go super deep, because a education of crypto, and b like you are now like researching and building new patterns, right? And C is also building the team. So it took a long time for us to kind of like set those processes. So today, it looks a lot more mature today. So startups can come to us, and when they approach us, we essentially kind of gauge what is their requirement. So if it is a brand requirement, then we have a brand program which is like 45 days. If it's a product requirement, then we have a product program which is like 60 to 90 days, right? And each of these programs are like well outlined in terms of what we do in each of the weeks, potentially what could the process look like. And I can maybe like even take you through the details of it, but long story short, like we interview the founders, we do our own preliminary kind of investigation on uh, the landscape of the startup, right? Like if they are a wallet company, we also try to find out other wallet companies. And then we also do like some startups start with a UI UX audit. So we start with an audit, and since we are more web3 native, we are able to tell them that, hey, this is what we look at as an anti pattern, or this is what is working out, not working out. And for a product team, on the other hand, it is very tightly like integrated with their design, a product and engineering team. So each of this process look like very different. And at any given point in time, we are not working with like more than like one two companies. I think that that's primarily because to like mm, invest our time and talent into like um, to deliver the best work, and it's extremely demanding as well. um and once the work starts, right, like I could tell you about like brand, to just kind of give you some high level idea. If someone comes for like branding, we do a bunch of like brand workshops, and some of these workshops are like very web3 centric as well. What do I mean by web3 centric, right? It means that, hey, in brands in web2 have like CEOs and stuff, and but brands in web3, you want to build it like a headless brand. You don't want to, and your users are going to be like pseudonymous or anonymous, right? Like how do you then accommodate for those kind of users? So a lot of these things are spoken about, and we have some methodologies to kind of like arrive at some really good insights. Based on that, we also kind of we do our own research as well, and some of these research are very intensive. So we do like wallet clustering, look at like wallet patterns, who are the kind of people who interacted with this protocol, what other protocol have they interacted with, or what other NFTs do they hold, things like this. And that brings in a lot of like authenticity to the process of like building a web3 brand, right? Like because that's a big question, what is a web3 brand? Like you're just making it up. It's just gradients and fonts, right? Like no, there's a lot of like really good work that goes behind it. And So overall it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to kind of come up with like a very good brand. And it includes like at the end deliverable is like a Figma file which has a brand system. It kind of has the narrative, all the standard set of brand guidelines and everything. This is done extremely in collaboration with like the community members or DAO members or like the founding team. And yeah, so that's what the process looks like. And internally the resources are like well allocated and managed. So there is like whenever a project starts, we operate on Figma, Slack, and Notion. So we Notion doc gets sent off with all the spokes, the scope, the timelines, everything, and then we are connected on Slack. And mostly we're 100% remote, so it's like mostly async work and remote work. Yeah.
Interesting. So, you spoke something about like, I can get into the details of I think the 60 or 90-day plan. Uh, can we actually get into the
Yeah.
details of it? I would love to know more.
Okay. Sure. So, the, the for the product design, mostly like depends on the maturity of the startup. Some of them have just an idea. Some of them have a alpha product. Some of them have a much more like a scaled product. So we generally start with like an audit, and from an audit perspective, like mostly 2 3 designers look at the product, and apart from the general heuristic kind of things, that we also look at very specific detail, right? Hey, it could have been better if we had asked the user for a consent before like signing in a transaction, or hey, this, we can show this contract information slightly better, or hey, this CTA doesn't make sense, right? And hey, there is a use case where the user doesn't have a wallet. How does he? So more from a Web3 angle, also some kind of very detailed evaluation, and then we take it to the team. Based on that, we kind of like categorize the problems, right? Is it a product problem? Is it a limitation of the blockchain? Is it a limitation of the API that you're using? Is it a limitation, or is it not a problem at all? We just messed up like UI UX. So we kind of categorize those things, and based on that, with the team, we do workshops to kind of build, hey, what do we want to do in the next 1 quarter, the 60 days, right? And then typically, like how product management happens, we break things down, and then our teams are assigned and we start working on things. And initially, once we have, before we work, we do set like some guidelines as to like, here are some of the problems, that broader problems that we want to solve for. And from a product perspective, we generally try to bring out a very strong anchor, so that like all the designers from different departments are aligned, right? Motion, sound, or even like product design. So for example, I could tell you, when we were designing obvious wallet, the anchor for us was speed, reliability, and like convenience. So we first, as a before designing, we built those principles, saying that, hey, this is what we want to like make our designs like scream, right? How do you build for reliability? How do you build for speed? Can we show speed through visuals, reliability through UX copies, that, those kind of things. And then the team is like very well kind of, from UX copy people to like motion designers, they all know what they're kind of working towards. Then it's mostly async work. Towards the end is where we, not the end, I would say, once we have like the wireframes and stuff, we make like prototypes and we start talking to users. We either like the founders start like showing the product to the users, we take feedback, and we iterate from there. And finally, the delivery kind of looks like, once everything is done, we make the lottie files, we do design documentation, um, we also drop in product and design notes, all those things, and kind of make it well packaged for their product team, for their like founding team to kind of have this as a thesis, and then work on the future stuff. Yeah, that way it becomes more sustainable. Also, they're not then dependent on, hey, can now we have new changes. So they have a design system that kind of tells them, hey, if you want to build a extension of the product, this is what you need to use. Hey, if you're doing a marketing campaign, here's a brand manual that has a template which allows you XYZ combination to try out, right? So all those sustainable principles and frameworks stuff are like put, documented, handed off. So this is what mostly like, yeah, the process looks like for a product.
Yeah, that's very comprehensive and interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just, it's kind of amazing, dude. Like how uh I'm not sure about the team size, but I'm guessing it's somewhere between 10 to 20, if I'm not wrong. And you're able to,
Yeah,
like,
so we
kind
did
of
13.
achieve,
Yeah.
yeah, you're able to achieve all this like with a team of that scale. Um,
Mm.
I mean, it's just amazing. Cool.
Yeah, dude.
Great. So coming to my next question, right? Which is like, throughout the this thing, kind of like kept comparing, like, how something would be like different in a Web 2, but like how it is so much more different in Web 3, right? Um, like especially the research part. I think that's a very critical piece, because the way you do research in Web3 is so different from the way you do research in Web2, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's why, like, I kind of felt like asking this question, which is like, if you're a designer and if you want to switch to Web3, or if you're someone who's getting started and you want to become a Web3 designer, um, what does the path look like? What kind of journey would you suggest? What are some of
Hmm.
your suggestions? Is what I would like to know.
Yeah, so I think Web3 designers, I think designers who can do design crypto products are like the hottest right now. So like there's so many companies looking for like designers, but if you have to start somewhere, I think fundamentally getting your understanding what crypto is very important, right? Um, and you could just pick out like any of the beginner kind of pack. Maybe like I'll drop a link. It has a list of things that you can get yourself used to, aware of what is a wallet, how does it work, what is DeFi, what is CeFi, and like what is essentially an exchange, how to use an exchange, right? What are NFTs, all these kind of bits. So get your concept level very clear, and not just from a theoretical angle, but like spend some money, like put 500 rupees, buy some crypto, use the wallet that you're studying about, see what it what happens actually, right? Like try buying an NFT, try holding an NFT, try sending it to someone. So you have to become a user. I think that is the first thing, if you have to design. And the second is, then you start looking at, once you start using crypto products, you will know that, hey, there are some really good crypto products out there. I can go and study them, right? Like for example, there are thousands of wallets, but probably there are like handful of wallets that you know are the best ones. Like, Coinbase wallet, Rainbow wallet, Glow wallet, Phantom wallet. There are handful of 4 or 5 wallets, right? All you got to do is, as a designer, go study them, use it, and like find out like what's working for them, what's not, right? So that foundational research and kind of diving into and figuring out has to be done by all the designers. And how do you start designing? I think not so different from Web 2, at least to start with. The product design principles are all like largely the same. So the low hanging thing would be for you to get into a bounty, right? Like try to like attack a design bounty, try to design something. And you could be a part of a crypto community, right? You could be a part of a super team DAO, or you could be a part of some other kind of crypto community. That is where you start talking the language of crypto. You need to understand as a designer also, when someone talks to you about something, what is he talking about, right? So have those, the part one is diving in, figuring out. Part two is basically like taking design bounties, taking like, trying your hand out at design, and with other design communities who are in crypto, or like other communities in crypto. The third bit would be, I think, more so from fundamental kind of thing. Like it's a lot to be figured out, right? So look at some of the concepts, and these concepts are something that you can start playing around with. Like just focus on wallet as a concept. Try to understand what is like different type, what are the different types of wallets, what are the different like place in wallets itself, right? People are building wallets specifically for GameFi, people are building wallets specifically for NFTs, people are building like universal wallets that you can access on all devices. So just kind of like find out, focus on one particular sector, right? Even that's the same with Web 2 design also. You learn design, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to try out like fintech right now, and like understand how fintech works, and like try out stuff. So similarly, pick like one niche thing that you can try out. And there are a lot of companies you can start applying, start working with them if you have very strong Web 2 fundamentals already. On the Web 3 side, I would say a lot of it is you getting uh, you understanding things actually. So like NFT, ERC standards, right? What are these standards? What are like smart contracts, right? You have to understand these things. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, dude. There's like not a lot that you can take a course and then become a Web3 designer. It's just trying out and learning and finding new patterns and being in the right community and having a real opportunity to do like real products. That's all.
That's awesome. I think you kind of like broke it down very well, because like went right from fundamentals, and like you also gave the comparison between like Web 2 and Web 3, and how few things are actually the same, and how learning the fundamentals of both of this is gonna help someone become a Web3 designer, right? Um, and thank you so much for actually like doing that. That I think it clears up a lot of things for quite a few people who are like trying to understand how to kind of like break into Web3 design and stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that was actually my last question, and we have kind of like reached the end of the episode. And I usually end my episodes with like asking a bunch of rapid fire questions, and I have a bunch prepared for you. So
Let's
if
go.
you're ready, we can get started.
Let's go.
Awesome. Um, this is gonna be tricky.
Mm.
The first one. Um, One thing you love and hate about Founder's life.
Uh, I love one thing I love about Founder's Life is you have a very high quotient of like want to live. Like you have something that you want to live for. You wake up with like हाँ मैं कुछ बना रहा हूँ कुछ बनाना है, right? One thing that I hate is the same thing because you have ambition, things that are bigger than yourself. You have to cut corners. Sometimes it's the cost is like your health. It's like your social life. So you have to cut a lot of corners to be like a founder. So yeah,
So it's the sense of purpose which like
yeah,
that you absolutely love
yeah.
about. Awesome. Cool. My next question, one place that you constantly go back to for inspiration.
Hmm. Um, to be honest, like I have a bunch of magazines, good design books at my home. Dieter Ram's, there's a coffee book that I have, a coffee table book that I have of like collection of Dieter Ram's design. Sometimes it just feels so good to look at some of his designs, product designs, like be it the bronze shaver or like the radio. Those things are timeless designs, right? So just those are like good inspirations for me. um Mostly that, otherwise these days I've also been trying out a lot with like GPT-3 and like DALI and stuff. So if you are very creative as a person, you could give that prompt and see what comes up. So diffusion, stable diffusion and stuff recently has been like really blowing my mind. They've also been very inspirational.
Okay, interesting. Um, cool. I'm actually gonna jump to my next question. Um, One advice that you would probably give your younger self.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have I would actually ask my younger self to work on long term sustainability from like a from the younger me version itself. I only recently realized how important it is to be healthy, stay sharp, like have a workout schedule, take therapy, all those kind of things. I wish like I started doing this much earlier in life. Um, but yeah, that could probably be like one advice to my younger self. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen like your transformation that you have had over the last 1 year, and um, I mean it's brilliant. How's that actually going for you?
Uh, it's going good. Yeah, it's going very good. Like I've managed to like keep my body fat at a particular range. I've managed to like run more, lift more, slowly giving into all the things like this is the ultra human ring. So started measuring like sleep, started measuring all those finer details, but it's not like so maniac level also. It's just like trying to create those constraints and boundaries. Hey, this is what my comfort spot is as a individual or as a person, right? I want to like run so much at any given day of time that I feel like I want to perform XYZ in parameters, right? So those are some of the things, broadly keeping it being very consistent. And it's been like 1 year, yeah, 1.5 years. And yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Coming to my last question, and this is a question I almost ask all my guests, which is like, if you kind of had to like worry about nothing, whether it is money, whether it's space gag, anything, right? Um, what would you be doing right now?
Hmm. So I think the genuine answer to that is space kayak. So like when I took a sabbatical, that is what I wanted to answer, right? Like I wanted to be in a place where I'm operating without fear, doing something that I absolutely love. Uh, Wake up excited, not like feeling pressurized, not chasing goals or not chasing like money, revenue or anything. So I think genuinely like space kayak is that thing. And it if at any given point in time I'm getting stressed about running space kayak, then there's fundamentally something wrong, right? So haven't things have been going good. So that is how I want to keep it also through space kayak becomes a channel for me to like enterprise my creative energy and like find meaning in like doing beautiful things and stuff. So I think like I am doing what I wanted to do. So yeah.
So, like an interesting thing is like, like with a lot of guests that I ask this question, one thing that kind of comes out is like, they are doing exactly what they would have done, like,
Mhm.
with the question that I asked. And I think somewhere on the lines, I always like feel like, I'm getting the right set of guests for the
Hmm.
podcast when, yeah, that's something that just like flashed in my mind when you told space kayak is what I would be doing.
Yeah, man. um
Awesome.
I think like I would
Yeah.
also plug, right, like it is because of space kayak and the work that we do.
Mhm.
I got to work with folks like Juno, got to meet you, and you guys started doing the pixel PFP for the first time, and now it is kind of that idea has seeded into like space kayak, and we did this whole pixel PFP collection at ETH India. So I think
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to like where I am right now in life, and I just want to continue doing it to my fullest capability.
Yeah, talking about the PFP thing, that was actually like created by one of our team members, which was like an overnight thing. His
Mm.
his name is Niket. I'm sure you met him.
Yeah, I played
So
football with
he's
him.
actually, yeah, he's actually the guest. He's one of the guests on this podcast as well. So it was something that like he kind of ideated overnight, and like he just started making like those PFPs for everyone on the team, and he actually made those even for like Bran Armstrong and like a bunch of people on Coinbase as well.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, just thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. I'm sure you have a very busy schedule, but thank you so much for being so accommodative and like doing this. I had a wonderful time talking to you. I was actually really waiting to like learn more about your journey and like kind of how you build Space Kayak. Um, I'm excited for the work that you are doing and excited for the work Space Kayak is doing and what the future kind of holds for it. So, yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Kaushik. Thank you so much for having me on the pod, and I genuinely look forward to this episode and also the many other amazing episodes that you're going to host. And at Space Kayak, if you are a creative person who's thinking of venturing into the crypto space, and if you want to work with really cool, well-funded crypto companies or like early stage builders who are figuring out things, please do reach out to me on Twitter. Would be happy to have a chat.
Yeah, and you'll be able to find Finney's Twitter link right in the description. Awesome.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Product Stories for more such episodes.